Welcome to the newest episode of the Favorite Self podcast. I'm your host, Alyssa Luce, and I just want to say thank you so much for choosing to spend this time with me. If you've been listening to the previous episodes of the Favorite Self podcast, I would love to hear your feedback. You can leave us a review by sharing a screenshot on your story on Instagram, and we'd love to repost you and give you a loving shout out. You can tag us at Intentions of Light or send me an email at faveselfpod@gmail.com. Now, today's episode is all about renewal. And if you've been listening to this season of the Favorite Self podcast, you know I've been sharing different values and principles that need to be in place in order for you to develop your absolute most favorite version of yourself. Now, renewal is important because you learn as you grow older, you get worn down, you get beat up, you get sick, you get fat, ugly, stretched. No, I'm kidding, guys. I'm kidding. Some people think that is the reality of life, but it actually isn't. However, because this belief is actually very high in society based on how people look, it's very, very, very important that we address renewing yourself, right? Replacing and repairing any part of you that's worn out, and it's being made well again. A lot of things in society cause us to be unwell, whether it's mental abuse from people who speak down on you, or hearing things that are constantly depressing or causing fear in your heart or causing anger and frustration. Or maybe it's the chemicals that you use in your home, in your cleaning products, or in your makeup and soap and, I don't know, detergent. Or maybe even the food you're eating. Maybe you indulge in fast food or junk food, or, you're eating an American diet. Or maybe it's, actual physical pain like hard manual labor, or overworking your body. Or maybe not even using your body and being lazy, right? Laying down, and whatever you don't move, you lose. So we get worn out over time. And, I think nowadays when people get to their 20s and 30s, they feel so old and broken down and run down. And guys, I really, really hate to burst your bubble, but that ain't normal. It's very, very, very important that you understand that longevity is attainable. It is very possible, it is very real, and you can have it. It really starts with the renewal of your mind. Whatever you believe. If you believe by the time you're in your 20s and 30s that your back is supposed to hurt and you're super old and everything is much harder and you're tired all the time, if you believe these things, if you believe you have to work hard in order to have a good life, you're going to overwork yourself. If you believe life is hard and you have to be stressed out to be successful, you're going to overwork yourself. There's a really great book that I read once. It's called How to Stop Worrying and Start Living by Dale Carnegie. It was actually one of the first textbooks ever written. So Dale Carnegie was this public speaker, like the founder of public speaking and doing seminars, like one of the very first. And this was, I want to say, in the 1920s or 1930s, like that era, before there was television. I think radio existed at this time. But he could not find any resources that was teaching people how to be a good business person or be a good salesman. So he created these seminars and classes, and he created a textbook. And this book was published, and it's been, republished, and it still exists today. I'm pretty sure you could find it if you look for it. It's a great read, highly recommend. Very easy to the point, simple language. And it's all about how stress causes you to be sick. Like all these illnesses and diseases and problems that we deal with in today's society in America are all due to stress. All of it. Whether it's physical stress, mental stress, emotional stress, stress is the foundation for illness, for disease, for problems, for anger, frustration, anything bad going on in the world all stems from stress. And when you renew your mind, when you renew your body, when you renew yourself, you're taking the parts of you that don't work, that are worn down, that are just not serving you, and you replace it, you replenish it, you reinforce what is working. You make yourself take a look at the things that waste your time, and you replace it with things that serve your time and make your time last longer. You make your time more productive. You make your time work for you. Now, this is also a biblical principle. And please don't come at me because I don't know the exact quote or Bible verse, but the Bible really talks about the renewing of the mind through God's word, right? So basically, constantly reading the Bible. I think the Bible verse is something like, don't conform to this world and constantly renew your mind through the word. Something of that effect. And basically, it's saying that, don't fall for anything. Don't do the things that are easy. Don't do the things that everyone else is telling you to do. Do what works for you. And what's going to work for you is truly knowing who you are, knowing who you're supposed to be, knowing what you should be doing, right? You should be constantly reevaluating how you feel. If you take a look at your life and there's any ounce of your time that you spend that you do not enjoy, why are you doing it? Are you doing it for someone else? Are you doing it for an outcome that you believe you'll attain by doing this thing? Like, really consider and evaluate what you take your time and spend your energy doing. And if it's doing something that wears you down at an accelerated rate, it most likely isn't meant for you and it's not worth it in the long term. So I also personally believe it is extremely important for you to constantly renew your body. Now, I'm not talking about going off and taking medicine and getting surgeries. No. That is an artificial renewal, and that does not work in the long term either. It actually causes more harm than good. One of the things that the same book talks about, the how to stop worrying and start living, is constantly relaxing. Right? Because if stress is the foundation for all illness and disease and problems, the opposite of stress would be a relaxation. And resting and relaxing are actually two completely different things, right? Resting would fall more into the category of sleeping and taking a break, right? Even if you're not in sleep, but even just laying down, just resting your body, like putting your body in a safe, relaxed state. A lot of us are constantly in survival mode. You notice that when you can't stay still, when your mind is overthinking, when you feel sweaty, when your emotions are erratic and all over the place, you know that you don't feel safe. And, maybe it could be due to a chemical influence, right? Whether you take medication or maybe, you smoke, and the chemicals that are in that product that you're intaking causes your hormones to go haywire, right? Even if it's not smoking, maybe it's the makeup you're using, or how I mentioned earlier, the chemicals you use to clean your home, or that you put on your body for your hair when you clean your hair, or your laundry detergent. Really pay attention to the things that you input in your environment because they're wearing you down, okay? This is one of the important reasons why I advocate so much for natural living, plant-based eating, and just being a conscious consumer. Because nowadays, anybody will give you a quick fix and they're lying for profit, okay? A lot of the things we see that are on the market today are causing a lot of harm. They're putting us in stress, and they're creating a shorter lifespan over time. And it's a little unfortunate, but it takes one person to be conscious, because 10 people and I know 10 people, and that's 20 people together, and then each of those 10 people know 10 people, and so on and so forth. So just by being the one to advocate for, hey, that does this and this, here's the research on it, or just being a leader of actually taking action and saying, what, I'm not gonna purchase any of these things anymore, or I'm gonna use this instead. And guess what? Supply and demand works. If you're constantly demanding things that are healthier for the environment, healthier for your children, your family, for yourself, the demand is going to increase the supply. Okay, so right now, I feel like a lot more people are becoming conscious, and this is a more of a talk that goes on, but we have to push the envelope a little harder so we can see actual progress and change. But back to the renewing of you. The other best way is to renew the mind. So the mind is the foundation for everything. What you think you become, what you think you are, what you think will happen. So if you're constantly thinking stressful thoughts, if you're constantly thinking, anger, frustration, you're not going to feel good. You're going to wear yourself down. You're going to feel tired all the time. And you're just going to be over life. And I don't think anyone wants to live that way. So the best thing to do is to interact with people who make you feel good. Maybe that's why you listen to this podcast. And hey, if I'm your person, then I love you. And you should definitely let me know. Send me an email, send me a DM. And, really spend time doing things that you love. If you don't know what those things are, you need to spend more time with yourself. And you're running away from your life. And there's probably so many internal reasons and unique reasons why, but only you can figure out why. Nobody can do the work for you. This life is your life to live. So if you want to live life in a constant state of stress, that's your choice by all means, whatever works for you. But I highly doubt anyone actually wants that. So my recommendation would be spend some time with yourself. Really understand what your needs are and what needs to change for you to be a better person. Because at the end of the day, when you're behaving as someone that you love, someone you're proud of, someone that feels happy all the time and is just in love with life, people feel that and they feed off of that. And because you are living a life that you love, people will love being around you and you'll impact them in a positive way. And people will want to love their life too. They will come to you and be like, hey, I see how great you look. What are you doing differently? And you could just pour into them. And that's really the purpose of why we're all here, is for us to pour into each other and make each other better as a whole. So really do the work for yourself and for the rest of the world. And figure out, what are you letting stress you out on a constant basis? What are you doing that you don't actually have to do? What are you doing that's wearing you down? And how can you renew yourself? How can you make yourself a little bit better tomorrow? And I want you to know that I believe in you. Don't think this process is going to be done in an hour or a day or a week or a month. No, this is a lifelong process that you choose to take every day. And whether or not you're choosing to renew yourself, if you're not living, you're dying. And I know it may sound extreme, but it's either left or right here. So you choose what you want for yourself. And I believe that you can live the best possible life you can even imagine, right? Maybe you can't even imagine the life you could possibly live, but in time, it will come to you the more time you spend with yourself. So I want to thank you so much for listening to today's episode with me. And if you have any questions, you can send me an email at faveselfpod@gmail.com. And I'd be so happy to give you a shout out in our next episode. And give us a follow on Instagram and leave us a review if you're liking these episodes so far. You could tag me at Intentions of Light, and I'll talk to you in the next episode.